Marcus Reynolds stood frozen in the doorway of Elite Fitness Empire's flagship location, his designer stubble and carefully disheveled appearance masking the billionaire CEO beneath. What he overheard in the next few minutes would unravel a conspiracy that stretched back a decade, expose a tragic secret about his late mother's past, and force him to confront the true cost of his empire's success. Marcus Reynolds stared at his reflection in the expansive bathroom mirror of his penthouse apartment, barely recognizing the man looking back at him. Gone were the tailored Tom Ford suits and perfectly styled hair that had graced countless magazine covers featuring America's youngest gym chain mogul. Instead, he saw a scruffy-looking guy in worn workout clothes from Target, three-day stubble shadowing his jaw, and thick-rimmed glasses hiding his usually striking green eyes. "You look like a completely different person," his sister Amanda commented from the doorway, concern etched across her face. As Elite Fitness Empire's chief marketing officer, she was the only executive who knew about his undercover plan. "That's exactly the point," Marcus replied, adjusting the fake wedding ring on his finger, "another detail for his cover identity. The board thinks I'm taking a month-long sabbatical in the Maldives. Instead, I'll be working as an entry-level trainer at our downtown Chicago location." Amanda stepped closer, studying his transformation. "And you really think this is necessary? We have quarterly performance reports, employee satisfaction surveys, profit margins that would make any CEO envious. Numbers on paper don't tell me why we've lost 40% of our senior trainers in the past 8 months, Marcus interrupted, his expression hardening as he recalled the latest HR report. They don't explain why our injury liability claims have doubled while our client retention rate is plummeting. Something's wrong in my company, Amanda. I built Elite Fitness from a single gym into a billion-dollar chain by understanding what happens on the ground level. I need to see it firsthand." The plan had taken weeks to orchestrate. Marcus had arranged for a new identity. Mark Rogers, a former physical education teacher looking to break into personal training. Only Jennifer Chen, his head of HR, knew his true identity, and she had sworn to absolute secrecy. Tomorrow would be his first day, and despite running a fitness empire for the past 12 years, Marcus felt genuine nervousness flutter in his stomach. The downtown Chicago location was Elite Fitness Empire's largest facility, a gleaming testament to luxury fitness spanning 4 floors in the heart of the business district. As Marcus pulled into the employee parking lot in his deliberately unassuming Honda Civic, the modern glass building loomed before him like a crystal fortress. The early morning darkness still cloaked the city, but already he could see members arriving for their pre-work sessions, dressed in designer athleisure and carrying protein smoothies. "Rogers, over here!" a sharp voice called out as Marcus approached the employee entrance. A tall woman with close-cropped grey hair and a militant posture consulted a tablet. Her name tag read, "Diana Blackwood, General Manager." "New trainer orientation, right? You're late. Session started at 5 a.m. sharp." Marcus checked his watch. 5:03 a.m. He opened his mouth to protest but caught himself. This was exactly the kind of interaction he needed to observe. "Sorry, ma'am." "Traffic was—" "Save it," Blackwood cut him off, her eyes never leaving the tablet. 3 strikes and you're out. That's your first. Follow me." As they walked through the still quiet gym, Marcus took in details his regular CEO visits had missed. The latest cardio equipment gleamed under perfect lighting, but he noticed scuff marks on the walls that shouldn't have been there. A water fountain had an out-of-order sign that looked weathered, small things, but they nagged at his practiced eye for excellence. The orientation room was already full of new trainers, mostly young, fit individuals fresh out of certification programs. Marcus took a seat in the back, maintaining his slight slouch and nervous demeanor. As Blackwood launched into a rapid-fire presentation about Elite Fitness Empire's procedures and expectations, he observed his fellow trainees. Their enthusiasm was obvious, but so was their anxiety as Blackwood detailed the demanding sales quotas and strict performance metrics they'd need to meet. Then something caught his attention. Two senior trainers had entered the room, speaking, in hushed tones by the door. Their conversation drifted over. "Another one quit last night. That's the third this month. Can't blame them, not after what happened to Mike. Shh, you know we're not supposed to talk about that. Besides, it's not like anyone would believe." Blackwood's sharp voice cut through their whispers. "Jason, Alex, don't you have clients waiting?" The trainers quickly dispersed, but Marcus's mind was racing. Mike. The name stirred something. In his memory, hadn't there been an incident report about a trainer by that name a few months ago? The details had been vague, classified as a routine resignation due to personal reasons, but something in those whispered words suggested a darker story. What Marcus didn't realize was that he had just caught the first thread of a mystery that would shake elite fitness empire to its very foundation. The truth he sought would prove far more personal and devastating than he could have imagined, reaching back to the very origins of his fitness empire and forcing him to question everything he thought he knew about his company's success. The next few hours of orientation blurred together in a whirlwind of company policies, safety protocols, and sales strategies. Marcus noticed how Blackwood emphasized membership quotas and upselling premium packages, but barely touched on proper form, correction, or injury prevention. It was a stark contrast to the company values he'd established when founding Elite Fitness Empire. As the morning session ended, Blackwood assigned each new trainer to shadow a senior staff member. "Rogers, you're with Santiago. He's running a group HIT class in Studio 3. Her lips curved in what might have been a smile, but felt more like a smirk. "Try to keep up." Marcus made his way to the third floor, where pulsing music leaked through the studio's glass walls. Inside, a lean, muscular trainer in his early 30s was setting up equipment for what looked like a particularly intense circuit training session. Unlike the other trainers who wore the latest Elite Fitness branded gear, Santiago's company shirt was faded from countless washes, and his shorts showed signs of wear. "Mark Rogers?" Santiago asked, extending a calloused hand. "Carlos Santiago. Welcome to the Thunderdome." His easy smile didn't quite reach his eyes, which held a wariness that Marcus had noticed in several other veteran trainers. Members began filtering in, executives, lawyers, and finance professionals seeking their morning endorphin fix. Marcus watched as Santiago greeted each by name, asking about their families, jobs, and fitness goals. This was exactly the kind of personal connection Marcus had wanted his gyms to foster. But as the class progressed, he noticed something troubling. Santiago was clearly modifying the prescribed workout routine, adding extra rest periods and suggesting alternative movements to members who struggled. According to the company's strict programming guidelines, trainers were supposed to push members to maintain the set pace. During a particularly intense burpee sequence, one client, a middle-aged man with a determined but strained expression, began showing signs of extreme fatigue. Santiago immediately stepped in, directing him to a modified version of the exercise. The man shot him a grateful look. "You're going to get written up for that," a passing trainer whispered to Santiago during the water break. "You know corporate's policy, no modifications to the programmed workout." Santiago's jaw tightened. "Better a write-up than another incident. I'm not losing another client like we lost Gerald." The name triggered another memory in Marcus's mind. Gerald Parker, a 52-year-old executive who had suffered a cardiac event during a group class 4 months ago. The official report had classified it as an unfortunate accident, noting that Parker had signed all the proper liability waivers. But now Marcus wondered if there was more to the story. After class, as members filed out with shaky legs and triumphant expressions, Santiago pulled Marcus aside. "Look, I know you're new, so let me give you some advice. The official training manual will tell you to push everyone to their limit, to never let them give up. But real training, good training, is about knowing when to push and when to pull back. Each person who walks through that door is different." "But the company protocols," Marcus began, playing his role. "The protocols," Santiago's voice dropped to a near whisper. "The protocols are designed to maximize membership turnover. They don't care if people get hurt or burn out because there's always another batch of clients ready to sign up, attracted by our elite reputation and fancy equipment." He ran a hand through his sweat-dampened hair. "It wasn't always like this, back when Reynolds was running things." Marcus's heart skipped a beat at the mention of his mother's name. Reynolds had founded the original elite fitness center 20 years ago, building it on principles of personalized training and genuine client care. After her sudden death 12 years ago, Marcus had taken over, expanding it into a national chain. He'd always believed he was honoring her legacy. "You knew Reynolds?" Marcus asked carefully. Something dark flickered across Santiago's face. "She was my first boss in the fitness industry. Taught me everything I know about real training. The accident that killed her—" He stopped abruptly, looking around as if he'd said too much. "Never mind. Just be careful, Rogers. Things aren't always what they seem around here." Before Marcus could press further, Blackwood's voice crackled over Santiago's radio. "Santiago, my office now. We need to discuss your unauthorized modifications to this morning's class." Santiago sighed, clipping the radio back to his belt. "And so it begins. Welcome to Elite Fitness, Mark. Try not to lose your soul." He headed toward the stairs, leaving Marcus with a growing sense of unease. Through the studio's glass walls, Marcus watched members from the next class filing in, already looking intimidated by the equipment setup. A young trainer was reviewing the workout plan, his expression anxious as he glanced at the corporate-mandated intensity levels. What had happened to his mother's gym? More importantly, what had happened to his mother? The official police report had ruled her car accident a tragic case of brake failure, but Santiago's unfinished sentence suggested something more sinister. As Marcus prepared to shadow another class, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd stumbled onto something far darker than declining trainer retention rates. In the growing light of morning, Elite Fitness Empire's gleaming facade suddenly felt like a mask, hiding secrets that some people would do anything to keep buried. What Marcus didn't know was that his simple undercover mission was about to uncover a trail of evidence that would lead him to question not just his company's present, but its very foundations and the true circumstances of his mother's death. The rest of Marcus's first week at Elite Fitness passed in a blur of training sessions, staff meetings, and careful observation. He quickly learned that Santiago wasn't the only trainer struggling with the company's rigid protocols. During a mandatory sales training session, he watched as Blackwood berated a young trainer named Maya Chen for failing to meet her premium membership quota. "Your conversion rate is unacceptable," Blackwood snapped, waving a spreadsheet. "Only 2 of your clients upgraded to Elite Plus packages this month. The corporate minimum is 5. Maya, a former competitive gymnast with excellent client feedback scores, stood her ground. "My clients are making great progress on the basic packages, pushing them to upgrade when they don't need—" "Need?" Blackwood's laugh was sharp. "Our job isn't to decide what clients need. It's to show them what they're missing. If you can't do that, perhaps you should reconsider your position here." Later, in the staff break room, Marcus found Maya staring into an untouched protein shake. "You okay?" he asked, settling into the chair across from her. "Just wondering if I made a mistake coming here," she replied. I left my position at a community center to work at Elite Fitness because of its reputation. Did you know Catherine Reynolds used to offer scholarships to underprivileged kids, free training for seniors? She shook her head. Now we're pushing expensive packages on people who can barely afford the basic membership. Marcus felt a fresh pang of guilt. He discontinued those programs years ago, considering them inefficient uses of company resources. What happened to those programs? They died with Catherine, Santiago answered, joining them at the table. Just like the employee health insurance, the injury prevention protocols, and the client health screening requirements. He fixed Maya with a serious look. Speaking of which, watch yourself with client number 2847. Maya's expression turned, worried. James Morrison. He seems fine. Just started last week. I saw his registration forms. Santiago lowered his voice. He checked yes for heart condition, but Blackwood pushed it through anyway, said we couldn't afford to be too picky with our premium package sales lagging. Marcus's blood ran cold. This was exactly the kind of liability issue that had been flagged in recent reports. But before he could press for more details, a commotion erupted from the main gym floor. They rushed out to find a small crowd gathered around one of the weight stations. A trainer was kneeling beside a collapsed client, performing chest compressions, while another called 911. Marcus recognized the unconscious man. It was Morrison. What happened? Blackwood demanded, pushing through the gathering crowd. He was doing heavy squats, the panicked trainer explained. I tried to spot him, but did anyone check his medical clearance? Maya asked. Blackwood's head snapped toward her. That information is confidential. Everyone back to work. This situation is under control. As paramedics rushed Morrison away, Marcus noticed Santiago sliding something into his pocket, a piece of paper that looked suspiciously like a client intake form. Their eyes met briefly, and Santiago gave an almost imperceptible nod before disappearing into the locker room. That evening, after most staff had left, Marcus lingered in the parking lot. He spotted Santiago walking to his car, a beat-up Corolla, with fading paint. Wait, he called out softly. Santiago paused, glancing around before approaching. You want to know about the form? It wasn't a question. Among other things, Marcus replied. Like what really happened to Catherine Reynolds. Oh, not here, Santiago said firmly. Meet me at Murphy's Diner in an hour. Some things shouldn't be discussed where cameras might be watching. Marcus's mind raced as he drove to the diner. The incident with Morrison was bad enough, but Santiago's paranoia about cameras suggested something far more systematic. He thought back to his mother's accident, the brake failure that had sent her car off Mountain View Road on a clear summer morning. The investigation had been surprisingly quick. The case closed within weeks. Murphy's Diner was a worn-down establishment far from Elite Fitness's upscale neighborhood. Santiago was already in a back booth when Marcus arrived, a manila envelope on the table before him. Before I show you this, Santiago said quietly, you need to understand something. Catherine Reynolds wasn't just my boss. She was my mentor. When she discovered what was happening with the company finances, she trusted me with copies of everything she'd found. He tapped the envelope. I've been waiting 12 years for someone to ask the right questions. What are you talking about? Marcus asked, his throat tight. What finances? Your mother didn't just die. Santiago's eyes bore into his. She was killed. And I think you already know who's really running Elite Fitness Empire. Just then, Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. 911. Get back to the gym now. They found Mike's body. What had started as an undercover investigation into trainer turnover had just become something far more deadly. And as Marcus would soon discover, the truth about his mother's death was just the beginning of a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of his company and his own family. Marcus's tires screeched as he pulled into Elite Fitness's parking lot. his mind still reeling from Santiago's words about his mother. Police cruisers surrounded the building, their lights painting the glass facade in alternating red and blue. He spotted Amanda pacing near the entrance, her usually composed demeanor shattered. "What happened?" he demanded, jogging up to her. "They found him in the old equipment room," Amanda whispered, her face pale. "Mike Thompson. He's been dead for weeks, Marcus. Weeks." She glanced at the police, then added quietly, "And there's something else. He had Mom's old files." Before Marcus could process this, Detective Sarah Chen approached them. "Ms. Reynolds, we need to ask you a few more questions about your interaction with Mr. Thompson prior to his disappearance." "Of course," Amanda replied, shooting Marcus a meaningful look before following the detective. Marcus slipped into the building, maintaining his cover as Mark Rogers. The normally immaculate gym was chaos, forensics teams combing every corner, police interviewing staff, and in the middle of it all, Diana Blackwood speaking intensely with a man Marcus recognized as Richard Sterling, Elite Fitness's chief. "Financial officer, Rogers!" Blackwood spotted him. "This area is off limits to training staff. Return tomorrow for your regular shift." But Marcus had already seen enough. Through the open door of the equipment room, he glimpsed the crime scene. Mike's body had been hidden behind stacks of outdated machinery in a corner covered by security. Cameras blind spots. Someone had known exactly where to conceal it. His phone buzzed. A text from Santiago. "Check your email now." Finding a quiet corner, Marcus pulled up his secure email account. Santiago had sent a single file, a scanned letter dated 1 week before Catherine Reynolds' death. His mother's handwriting was unmistakable. "Richard, I have evidence of everything. The laundered money, the fake injury settlements, the offshore accounts. Did you really think I wouldn't notice $50 million disappearing from our expansion fund? I'm taking this to the board tomorrow. Catherine." Marcus's hands shook as he read the words. Richard Sterling had been his mother's closest friend, his own godfather. After her death, Richard had guided him through taking over the company, mentoring him in all things business. Another text from Santiago. "Sterling isn't alone. Check the financial records from 2010-2012. Focus on Project Phoenix." Using his CEO override codes, Marcus accessed the company's archived files. Project Phoenix, supposedly an initiative to modernize their facilities, had consumed massive resources during the years immediately following his mother's death. But as he dug deeper, a pattern emerged. Equipment orders that never arrived, renovation contracts with companies that didn't exist, insurance payouts for injuries that seemed suspiciously uniform. A soft noise made him look up. Maya Chen stood in the doorway, her expression grim. "Mr. Reynolds," she said quietly, "I think you need to see this." Marcus stiffened. "I don't—" "Please," she interrupted. "I worked in forensic accounting before becoming a trainer, and I know who you are. Santiago told me everything." She placed a USB drive on his desk. "I've been tracking irregularities in our injury settlement patterns. They're not random. They're engineered." The data on the drive was damning. Elite Fitness had been systematically pushing dangerous workout protocols, knowing they would cause injuries. Each injury resulted in an insurance payout, money that was being funneled through a complex network of shell companies. At the center of it all was Sterling Financial, Richard's private consulting firm. "Mike figured it out too," Maya continued. "He approached me 3 weeks ago, said he had proof going back to Catherine Reynolds' accident. He was supposed to meet me with the evidence, but then he disappeared." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "The night he disappeared, I saw him arguing with your sister in the parking lot." Marcus felt the floor sway beneath him. Amanda? His own sister? But then pieces started clicking into place. her aggressive push for higher intensity classes, her insistence on removing health screening requirements, her strange resistance to updating the security systems. His phone buzzed one final time. Santiago again. Storage Unit 23, City Central Storage, combination 72110. Your mother left something there for you. But be careful, you're not the only one looking for it. Just then, shouts erupted from the main floor. Marcus rushed out to see paramedics surrounding James Morrison's former training station. Another client had collapsed. Same spot, same circumstances. But this time, Marcus noticed something he'd missed before. A tiny adjustment to the weight machine's safety mechanism, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. These weren't accidents. They were carefully orchestrated incidents, designed to trigger insurance payouts while maintaining plausible deniability. And somewhere in his mother's old storage unit lay the proof that could expose it all. As Marcus watched Sterling and Blackwood conferring urgently in the corner, a chilling thought struck him. If they'd killed to protect this secret once, they wouldn't hesitate to do it again. And now, Mike's death proved they were still willing to eliminate any threat to their operation. The question was, how many people had to die before the truth came to light? And more importantly, who could he trust when it seemed the conspiracy reached into his own family? The drive to City Central Storage felt like the longest 20 minutes of Marcus's life. Every shadow seemed to hide a potential tale, every red, like an opportunity for someone to catch up to him. Maya's data and Santiago's warnings swirled in his mind, along with the image of his sister arguing with Mike in that parking lot. The storage facility was a sprawling maze of identical orange doors set against the backdrop of Chicago's industrial district. Unit 23 was tucked away in a back corner, partially hidden by overgrown bushes. The combination Santiago provided, 72110, struck Marcus as he entered it, July 21st, 2010, the day before his mother's accident. The door groaned open, revealing a small space filled with carefully labeled boxes. Catherine Reynolds had been nothing if not organized. But something was wrong. The boxes had been recently disturbed, their neat labels partially obscured by dusty fingerprints. Someone had been here before him. A box marked Phoenix Original Proposals caught his eye. Inside, he found facility blueprints that differed dramatically from what had actually been built. The original Elite Fitness expansion plan had included rehabilitation centers, community health programs, and affordable membership tiers. Everything his mother had believed in, everything that had been systematically dismantled after her death. Deeper in the unit, behind a false panel that only someone who knew Catherine's methods would think to check, Marcus found a heavy-duty safe. The combination was his birthday, and inside lay a single USB drive and a sealed envelope with his name on it. His hands trembled as he opened the letter. "My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, then my suspicions were correct, and I didn't survive to expose the truth. Richard and Amanda aren't who you think they are. The expansion plan they presented to the board was a front for something much darker. They've been using our gyms to orchestrate insurance fraud on a massive scale. The aggressive training protocols, the removed safety features, the targeted client selections. It's all designed to create accidents that trigger massive payouts. But that's just the surface. The money isn't just disappearing into offshore accounts. They're funding something called Operation Lazarus. I don't know exactly what it is, but I found connections to criminal organizations, medical fraud, and pharmaceutical testing. Our gyms are being used as testing grounds, Marcus. The supplements we're pushing, the proprietary pre-workout formulas, they're experimental drugs disguised as fitness products. I'm meeting with federal investigators tomorrow. Amanda knows. She overheard my phone call. I fear what she might do, but I can't believe my own daughter would. I have to try to save her from what she's become. If anything happens to me, go to Detective Sarah Chen. She has copies of everything, but she needs someone on the inside to verify the evidence. Be careful who you trust. Even the board has been compromised. I love you, Marcus. I'm sorry I won't be there to help you fix this. Mom. Marcus sat back, his world spinning. Operation Lazarus. The name appeared in Maya's data, a recurring payment code that she hadn't been able to trace. And now another client had collapsed, just as his mother predicted. His phone buzzed. Amanda. Where are you? Sterling's looking for you. Says, it's urgent. Before he could respond, a new text from Santiago. Get out now. Blackwood traced my emails. They're coming. Marcus shoved the drive and letter into his pocket, just as headlights swept across the storage unit's entrance. Heavy footsteps approached from multiple directions. He ducked behind a stack of boxes, heart pounding. Clear the left, a gruff voice ordered. He has to be here somewhere. Through a gap in the boxes, Marcus spotted armed men in elite fitness security uniforms, men he'd never seen before. This wasn't regular gym security. These were professionals. Sir, one spoke. Into a radio. Unit's been breached. Looks like he found the safe. A familiar voice crackled back. Sterling, find him, and find that drive. Nothing else matters. Marcus's mind raced. The unit had only one entrance, now blocked by armed men, but the ventilation duct above. His mother's note mentioned the ventilation system. Had she planned this too? Moving silently, he used the boxes to reach the duct. It was a tight fit, but he managed to pull himself up just as the men reached his hiding spot. Through the metal grating, he watched them tear apart the unit. Sir, no sign of him. But we found this. One held up a familiar envelope. Amanda's. Handwriting. Marcus's blood ran cold as he read the visible portion. Mom knew too much. Had to be done. The radio crackled again, but this time it was Amanda's voice. Find my brother. Whatever it takes. We've worked too hard to let him ruin everything now. As Marcus crawled through the dusty duct, each revelation hit harder than the last. His sister had helped kill their mother. His godfather was running a criminal empire through his gyms. And now, somewhere in the city, experimental drugs were being tested on unsuspecting clients under the guise of fitness supplements. He had the evidence to expose it all. But first, he had to make it out alive. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a new question formed. If Amanda had been involved from the beginning, what else had his sister done to protect their deadly family secret? The ventilation system proved to be an elaborate maze, but Marcus noticed something peculiar, worn marks at certain junctions, as if someone had navigated this path before. His mother had always been methodical. Had she planned this escape route, knowing someday it might be needed? After what felt like hours of careful maneuvering, Marcus emerged onto the facility's roof. The Chicago skyline glittered around him, a stark contrast to the darkness he'd uncovered. His phone buzzed with a message from Maya. Morrison woke up. He's talking. Meet me at Chicago General. Hurry. But before he could respond, another message arrived, this one from Detective Chen. Don't go to the hospital. It's a trap. Maya's phone was compromised. Meet at Cafe Luna instead. Come alone. And Marcus's training as CEO had taught him to analyze patterns. Maya's text used perfect punctuation, unlike her usual messages. Chen's warning had to be legitimate. His sister's people were already moving to corner him. The cafe was a small, 24-hour establishment far from elite fitness's usual territory. As Marcus approached, he spotted Santiago's beaten-up Corolla parked down the block. Through the window, he could see Detective Chen at a corner table, looking tense. They're moving faster than we anticipated, Chen said, as soon as he sat down. The FDA just approved emergency testing for a new breakthrough performance supplement. Guess who's sponsoring the trials? Elite Fitness, Marcus answered grimly. Through a subsidiary called Phoenix Pharmaceuticals, Chen confirmed. "The paperwork was rushed through last week. They're planning to use your entire membership base as test subjects." She pulled out a tablet. "Your mother found the initial trials. That's what got her killed." Security footage played on the screen, his mother entering a hidden lab beneath the original Elite Fitness location. The timestamp showed 2 a.m. on the day of her accident. The supplements they're testing, they're derived from a banned substance that showed promising results but caused fatal heart complications in 3% of users. Your mother discovered they were already testing it on select clients, disguising the deaths as workout-related accidents. Marcus thought of Morrison, of all the mysterious cardiac events they documented. The liability waivers, he realized. That's why they pushed through the new membership contracts last month. Exactly. But here's what doesn't make sense. Chen leaned forward. The funding for Operation Lazarus, it's coming from an account in your name. What? Marcus felt the floor drop out from under him. An offshore account set up the day after. Your mother died. Every major decision about Elite Fitness has been authorized with your digital signature. On paper, you're not just involved, you're the mastermind. The pieces clicked together with horrifying clarity. For 12 years, he'd been the perfect figurehead, the young, ambitious CEO, too focused on expansion to notice the details. Every document he'd signed, every protocol he'd approved, had been carefully crafted by Sterling and Amanda to implicate him while keeping themselves at arm's length. "There's more," Chen continued. "We found trace evidence in Mike Thompson's car, the same distinctive brake fluid that was used in your mother's accident." Before she could elaborate, Santiago burst through the door. "They found Maya," he gasped. "She's alive, but they're taking her to Elite Fitness's private medical facility." The testing center, Marcus realized. His phone buzzed. "Amanda. Again, it's time we talked, little brother. Come to the original gym, alone, or Maya pays for your stubbornness." Chen started to protest, but Marcus held up his hand. "You have everything you need for the investigation." "Almost. We need proof of the current testing program. Without it, they could claim all this happened before you took control. We need to catch them in the act." Marcus stood, his decision made. "The private medical facility. It's in the sub-basement of the original gym. That's where they're taking Maya, that's where they're running the trials, and that's where we'll find our proof." "It's a trap," Santiago warned. "Of course it is," Marcus agreed. "But they don't know what I found in that storage unit. Mom didn't just leave evidence, she left blueprints, including something they never found, a second way into that underground lab." Chen checked her weapon. "My team's standing by, but we need probable cause for a raid. You'll have to get us concrete evidence before we can move in." "How long?" Marcus asked. "Give me 30 minutes to position everyone, then find us a way in." As they finalized the plan, Marcus's phone lit up with a photo from Amanda. Maya strapped to a medical chair, Blackwood standing over her with a syringe. "Clock's ticking, brother. Time to choose, your friend's life or Mum's precious legacy." What his sister didn't realize was that Marcus had already chosen. He would honor his mother's legacy by exposing the truth, saving Maya, and bringing down everyone involved, including his own sister. But first, he had to face a family confrontation 12 years in the making. As he drove toward the original Elite Fitness location, Marcus thought about all the signs he'd missed over the years. The strange coincidences, the convenient explanations, the carefully managed information flow. His mother had tried to protect him by keeping him out of the company's inner workings. Instead, she'd made him the perfect pawn in Sterling and Amanda's deadly game. Now it was time to show them exactly whose son he really was. The original Elite Fitness building stood like a shadow against the night sky, its contemporary architecture, a testament to Reynolds' vision. Marcus parked in his mother's old spot, space number 7, now reserved for Amanda. Some habits died hard. He checked his watch. 20 minutes until Chen's team would be in position. The USB drive from his mother's safe felt heavy in his pocket as he approached the entrance. Security cameras tracked his movement, but he knew they were already expecting him. The front doors opened automatically. The gym floor was dark except for the blue glow of emergency lights, creating eerie shadows among the equipment. A place that had once represented health and community now felt like a mausoleum. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." Amanda's voice echoed from the darkness. She stepped into view, impeccably dressed even at this hour. Richard Sterling emerged beside her, his familiar fatherly smile now seeming sinister. Though I have to admit the undercover routine was a nice touch. "Where's Maya?" Marcus demanded. "Safe, for now." Sterling gestured toward his office. "Shall we discuss this like civilized people?" As they walked, Marcus noted the subtle changes to the gym's layout. Air vents that hadn't been in his mother's blueprints, new security doors. They'd modified the building extensively, but had they found all of Catherine's hidden passages? Sterling's office was exactly as Marcus remembered from his childhood. Leather chairs, championship photos, the overwhelming scent of success. But now he noticed new details. The slight bulge of a shoulder holster under Sterling's jacket, the way Amanda positioned herself between him and the door. "You should have stayed in your lane, Marcus," Amanda sighed, pouring herself a drink. "Board meetings, PR appearances, expansion strategies, that was your strength, but you had to play detective." "Like mother, like son," Sterling added, his tone almost sad. Catherine had the same problem. Couldn't leave well enough alone. "Well enough?" Marcus's voice shook with rage. "You're testing illegal drugs on innocent people. Using my company, my mother's legacy, to run a criminal empire." "Your company?" Amanda laughed. "Oh, brother, you never owned this company. Every decision, every signature, every expansion, it was all orchestrated. We needed a face, someone the public would trust. The grieving son carrying on his mother's work." She smiled coldly. "It worked perfectly, until now." Sterling moved to his desk, pressing a button that revealed a hidden monitor. Security feeds showed Maya in the medical facility below, surrounded by medical equipment and armed guards. Another screen displayed police units gathering at strategic positions around the building. "Your detective friend isn't as subtle as she thinks," Sterling noted. "But she's too late. In 20 minutes, the first shipment of our new supplement. Line goes out to every elite fitness location nationwide. By tomorrow morning, thousands of members will be part of the largest pharmaceutical trial in history." He smiled. "All perfectly legal, thanks to your signature on the FDA application." "And the deaths," Marcus demanded. "The accidents like Morrison." "Acceptable losses," Amanda shrugged. "The pharmaceutical industry spends billions on controlled trials. We found a better way: real-world testing, unwitting subjects, and ironclad liability waivers. The profit potential is astronomical." "Mom was right about you," Marcus said quietly. "You murdered her for money." "No," Amanda's face hardened. "I killed her because she was weak. All her talk about community service and affordable fitness, she would have run this company into the ground. I saved elite fitness, made it stronger, made it worth something, while becoming a murderer in the process," Marcus countered. "Mike Thompson figured it out, didn't he? That's why he had to die." "Mike was an unfortunate necessity," Sterling interjected. "Like Maya will be if you don't cooperate. We're offering you a choice, Marcus. Join us officially. Help us take elite fitness to the next level, or—" A scream echoed through the building, Maya's voice, filled with pain. Marcus lunged forward, but Amanda's gun appeared smoothly in her hand. "That's just a taste," she said calmly. "The new formula has some interesting side effects. How long do you think she'll last under full exposure? Marcus raised his hands slowly. What do you want? The drive from Mom's storage unit, Amanda replied. And your full cooperation, public support for the new supplement line, your continued role as the trusted face of elite fitness. And if I refuse? Sterling sighed. Then Maya dies tonight. Detective Chen's team finds evidence of your involvement in a tragic drug testing accident, and you join your mother in disgrace. He spread his hands. Your choice. Marcus reached slowly into his pocket, retrieving the USB drive. You know what's funny? He said, holding it up. Mom always said the devil was in the details, like how she numbered the security cameras. Sequentially, did you ever wonder why there was a gap between cameras 7 and 9? Amanda frowned. What are you? The explosion from below rocked the entire building. Emergency alarms blared as sprinklers engaged. In the chaos, Marcus dropped and rolled, hearing Amanda's gunfire where he'd been standing. Through the office windows, he saw tactical teams swarming the building. You didn't find all her secret passages, he shouted over the noise. And you never checked what else was in that storage unit besides the drive, like blueprints showing how to access the lab directly. While Sterling and Amanda had been focused on him, Santiago and Chen's team had used Catherine's hidden entrance to infiltrate the facility. The evidence wasn't just on the drive. It was being seized from the lab right now, along with dozens of test subjects who would testify about the illegal trials. Amanda's scream of rage was drowned out by the sound of breaking glass as tactical teams breached the office. Federal agents, hands where we can see them. As Sterling and Amanda were secured, Marcus caught a glimpse of Maya being helped out of the building, shaken but alive. His mother's final gift had worked. The hidden passages she'd built into her gym had finally helped expose the truth. But as he watched his sister being led away in handcuffs, Marcus knew this was just the beginning. How many other elite fitness locations had been compromised? How deep did Operation Lazarus really go? And most importantly, who else had been involved in his mother's murder? The next 24 hours passed in a blur of federal agents, media crews, and endless questioning. Elite Fitness's flagship location had become a crime scene. Its pristine lobby now crowded with evidence markers and forensic teams. Marcus watched from his mother's old office as agents led out box after box of documents and hard drives from the hidden laboratory. Maya sat across from him, wrapped in a shock blanket, her hands still shaking slightly as she sipped hot tea. They were going to use me as their first official test subject, she said quietly. Said it would be poetic, the whistleblower becoming proof of their success. I'm so sorry, Marcus replied, the weight of his indirect responsibility heavy on his shoulders. I never thought. None of us did, Santiago interrupted, entering with Detective Chen. But your mother suspected. That's why she left us the tools to expose it. He placed a thick folder on the desk. We found this in the lab. Details of every test subject, every accident. Going back 12 years. Chen nodded grimly. Sterling's already talking, trying to cut a deal. Claims there are other facilities, other operations we don't know about. What about Amanda? Marcus asked, dreading the answer. Silent. But her computer's telling us plenty. Chen opened her laptop, displaying a series of emails. She wasn't just involved in your mother's death. She orchestrated it, found evidence Catherine was gathering, contacted Sterling and... She paused, glancing at Marcus. And arranged the brake failure, he finished. My own sister. Half-sister, Santiago said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. That's what Catherine wanted to tell you before. I found her personal journals in the storage unit. She was going to reveal everything, not just the criminal operation, but the family secrets too. Marcus felt the room spin slightly. What are you talking about? Santiago pulled out a weathered journal. Sterling wasn't just your godfather, Marcus. He was Amanda's biological father. Your mother discovered their affair years ago, but kept quiet for the family's sake. When she threatened to expose the criminal operation, Amanda didn't just choose Sterling's side, she chose her real father. The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. All those years of Amanda's resentment, her determination to prove herself, her fanatical loyalty to Sterling, suddenly made terrifying sense. A commotion outside drew their attention. Through the office windows, they could see Blackwood being led out in handcuffs, shouting accusations. "It goes higher. The board knew everything. Ask about Project Genesis." Chen straightened. Project Genesis? That wasn't in any of the files. "No," Marcus said slowly, remembering years of board meetings, casual conversations, subtle suggestions. "But I know who would know." He pulled out his phone, dialing a number he'd known since childhood. "Time to have a chat with our chairman emeritus." Harold Winters had been on Elite Fitness's board since its founding, a close friend of both his parents, the man who'd mentored him after his mother's death, who'd always supported his decisions, and who'd suggested Richard Sterling as CEO advisor in the first place. The call went to voicemail. Chen was already typing on her laptop. Winters's private jet filed a flight plan an hour ago. Destination, Cayman Islands. "He's running," Maya realized. "Not if I can help it." Chen grabbed her radio. "This is Detective Chen. I need that flight grounded immediately." But Marcus was focused on something else, a pattern in the documents scattered across the desk. Project Genesis. The name appeared in his mother's earliest notes, long before Elite Fitness became a chain, back when it was just a small gym with big dreams. "It wasn't Sterling," he said suddenly. "He was just a tool. Winters was the mastermind, Mum's original partner, the one who pushed for aggressive expansion. He rifled through the papers, the drug testing, the fraud. It was his plan from the beginning. Sterling and Amanda were just carrying it out." That would explain the money trail, Maya added, her forensic accounting background kicking in. "The offshore accounts all trace back to shell companies established 20 years ago, before Elite Fitness even existed." Santiago's phone buzzed. "You need to see this," he said, handing it to Marcus. It was a news alert. Breaking. Harold Winters, chairman of Elite Fitness Empire, found dead in private hangar, apparent suicide. But Marcus noticed something in the accompanying photo, a glimpse of Winters's wrist visible beneath his sleeve, a distinctive silver bracelet he'd seen before in security footage from the night Mike Thompson died. "That's no suicide," he said grimly. "The organization is cleaning house. How many other board members might be involved? How far does this really go?" Before anyone could respond, every computer screen in the office suddenly went dark. When they flickered back to life, a single message appeared. "Initiated Project Genesis, final phase." Somewhere in the building, emergency locks engaged with heavy thuds. Chen's radio crackled with panicked voices as agents found themselves trapped in various sections of the facility. And through the office, speakers came a familiar voice, Amanda's automated security system, but with a message none of them had heard before. "Containment protocol activated. May Catherine Reynolds' vision finally be realized." They rushed to the window in time to see thick metal shutters rolling down over every exit. The true architect of Elite Fitness's darkness had planned for everything, including his own exposure. And now they were locked in with whatever fail-safe Winters had left behind. The building's emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow through the halls of Elite Fitness as Marcus, Chen, Maya, and Santiago gathered around Catherine's old computer terminal. The containment protocol had sealed them in completely, trapping dozens of federal agents and forensics teams throughout the building. "This doesn't make sense," Chen muttered, trying to access the security system. These protocols aren't in any of the building's official plans. It's like the whole structure is transforming. Because it is, Marcus replied, pulling up his mother's oldest blueprints. Look at these original designs. The whole building was constructed like a giant panic room with reinforced walls and independent systems. But why would a gym need this level of security? Maya, who had been examining Winters's files on her tablet, suddenly straightened, because it wasn't meant to be just a gym. Project Genesis wasn't about fitness at all. It was about human enhancement. She turned the tablet to show them. The earliest elite fitness documents revealed a terrifying truth. Harold Winters had been part of a classified government program in the 1990s, researching biological enhancement drugs. When the program was shut down for ethical violations, he didn't abandon his research. He privatized it. Elite fitness was designed as the perfect testing ground, Meyer explained. A controlled environment where people willingly push their bodies to the limit, sign away liability, and pay for the privilege. The gym was just a cover for the real experiment. "And my mother?" Marcus asked, dreading the answer. Santiago picked up another file. She was recruited specifically for her expertise in sports medicine and rehabilitation. Winters needed someone legitimate to build the business around, someone who could attract the right kind of health-conscious clientele. "But she figured it out," Chen added. "That's what all these hidden passages and security features really were. She was building a way to expose everything while protecting the evidence." A violent shudder ran through the building. Through the windows they could see more metal plates emerging from hidden panels, completely sealing them off from the outside world. The ventilation system hummed to life, and a subtle mist began seeping through the vents. "He's activating it," Maya gasped, recognizing the chemical signature. "The final phase of Project Genesis, mass exposure to the enhanced formula." Marcus's mind raced. His mother had designed these security features, which meant the vents, he said suddenly. Mom's blueprints showed a secondary ventilation system, completely separate from the main one. That's how she was gathering air samples to document the illegal testing. "Can we access it?" Chen asked, already checking her oxygen levels. "Better," Marcus replied, moving to his mother's old desk. "We can use it to introduce a neutralizing agent." Mum's notes mentioned a failsafe, a compound that would render the enhancement drugs inert. He pressed a hidden panel beneath the desk, revealing a sophisticated chemical storage unit built into the wall. Catherine Reynolds had prepared for this exact scenario, leaving behind everything they'd need to stop Winters's final plan. But as they began working to activate the secondary system, a new complication arose. The building's internal cameras showed Amanda being moved by federal agents when the lockdown began. Now she was free, having overpowered her guards in the confusion, and she was heading straight for the laboratory level. She's going for the main distribution hub, Santiago realized. If she can access it, she could pump that formula into every elite fitness location in the country simultaneously. They're all connected through the same ventilation control network. "How is that even possible?" Chen demanded. "The standardized air quality system we installed last year," Marcus said, grimly. "It wasn't about maintaining perfect gym conditions. It was about creating a delivery system for the enhancement drugs. Every elite fitness location is equipped to become a gas chamber at the flip of a switch." Maya was already pulling up the building schematics. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads directly to the distribution hub. If we hurry..." Another tremor shook the building, stronger this time. Warning lights flashed as the facility's transformation continued, revealing its true nature as a massive chemical weapons platform disguised as a fitness center. "We have to split up," Marcus decided. "Maya, you and Santiago work on the neutralizing Agent, Detective Chen, coordinate with your people. Keep them calm and in position. I'm going after Amanda. She'll be expecting you, Chen warned. No, Marcus replied, grabbing his mother's keycard from the desk. She'll be expecting Marcus. Reynolds, the CEO who never noticed what was happening in his own company. But I'm done playing that role. He pulled out his phone, sending a mass message to every elite fitness location nationwide. Emergency protocol. Evacuate all facilities immediately. This is not a drill. As he headed for the maintenance tunnel, Marcus could hear his sister's voice echoing through the building's speaker system. You don't understand, little brother. This was always the plan. Elite fitness isn't just about making people stronger. It's about forcing the next step in human evolution. Winters saw the future, and now it's time for everyone to embrace it. The maintenance tunnel was narrow and dark, lit only by emergency strips along the floor. As Marcus made his way toward the distribution hub, he could hear the building systems powering up around him, preparing to unleash a nightmare decades in the making. What no one knew, not even Amanda, was that Catherine Reynolds had left one final surprise in her hidden blueprints. The building's transformation wasn't just revealing its weapons systems, it was also exposing its weaknesses. And Marcus was about to show his sister exactly whose son he really was. The distribution hub was a massive chamber at the heart of elite fitness, filled with gleaming steel tanks and complex piping systems. Marcus emerged from the maintenance tunnel to find Amanda already at the main control panel, her fingers flying over the keys. The room pulsed with an ominous red glow. From the emergency lighting, I wondered when you'd figure out the tunnel system, she said without looking up. Mom's little architectural Easter eggs. She always did love her secrets. Like the secret of who you really are? Marcus replied, moving carefully around the perimeter. Sterling's daughter, Winters's protégé, Mum's murderer. That made her pause. You don't understand what we're trying to achieve here. This isn't about profit anymore. It's about advancement. Evolution. She gestured to the screens showing elite fitness locations across the country. Look at them all. Thousands of people desperately trying to become stronger, faster, better. We're just helping them achieve what they already want. By turning them into unwitting test subjects, killing them when the experiments fail. Casualties of progress, Amanda shrugged. Even Mom understood that in the beginning. Why do you think she helped design this facility? She believed in the vision before she lost her nerve. A message flashed across the screens. Maya and Santiago had begun introducing the neutralizing agent into the building's secondary ventilation system. They had minutes at most before it reached the distribution hub. You're too late, Amanda smiled, noticing his attention on the screens. The primary system is already charged. One button, and every elite fitness member in the country gets there. Free performance enhancement whether they want it or not. Then why haven't you pushed it yet? Marcus asked, still moving closer. What are you waiting for? For you to understand. Something vulnerable flickered across Amanda's face. We're family, Marcus. Different mothers, but the same vision runs in our blood. Dad, Sterling, he saw it in you. That's why we kept you as CEO. You have Winters's drive, Mom's intelligence. Join us, help us guide humanity's next step. Marcus was nearly within reaching distance of the emergency shutdown. And if I refuse, then you die here with the rest of the failures. Amanda's gun appeared in her hand. Your choice, brother. But Marcus had seen something she hadn't, a reflection in the steel tanks. Santiago wasn't just introducing the neutralizing agent. He was using Mom's secondary system to flood the lower levels with harmless but dense fog, creating cover for federal agents to move through the building undetected. You know what I finally realized? Marcus said, drawing her attention. Why? Mom built all these hidden passages and backup systems. It wasn't just to gather evidence. She was protecting me from you, from what you'd become. She was weak. Amanda's composure cracked. She would have destroyed everything we worked for. No, Marcus replied calmly. She tried to save you. Until the very end, she believed her daughter could be redeemed. That's why she left that note in your handwriting at the storage unit. She knew you'd try to frame me eventually. Amanda's eyes widened as the implications hit her. The evidence she'd planted, the careful trail leading to Marcus, it had all been predicted and documented by their mother years ago. She'd been playing into Catherine's hands from the start. Impossible, she whispered. She couldn't have. And known. Check the timestamp on the security footage. Marcus nodded toward the screens. Mom wasn't entering the lab that night to gather evidence. She was leaving it after setting up everything we'd need to expose Project Genesis. Her accident didn't silence her. It activated her failsafe. The fog was rising through the floor grates now, and Amanda could hear movement in the shadows. She fired wildly, but Marcus was already moving, tackling her away from the control panel. They crashed into a rack of chemical tanks, sending them tumbling. In the chaos, Amanda's finger found the trigger again. The gunshot echoed through the chamber, followed by a sharp hiss as one of the tanks ruptured. Emergency sirens blared as the chemical detection system registered a leak. No! Amanda lunged for the control panel, but Marcus held her back. Don't you see? This is our legacy. This is what we were meant to... She was cut off by a familiar voice over the speakers. Catherine Reynolds' final message, recorded 12 years ago and stored in the building's sealed systems. Project Genesis failsafe activated. Full system. Purge initiated. The screens lit up with warning messages as Catherine's last protocol executed. Every tank in the facility began automatically emptying into containment units, their contents rendered inert by the neutralizing agent. Across the country, elite fitness locations were receiving emergency shutdown commands, their ventilation systems locking down. Mom knew, Marcus said softly as federal agents swarmed into the chamber. She knew what Winters was planning, what you'd become, but she also knew I'd figure it out eventually. This whole facility wasn't just a lab or a weapon, it was a message, a way to show me the truth. As Amanda was led away in handcuffs, her composed mask finally shattered. How? She demanded. How did she know everything we do? Marcus picked up a fallen tablet, displaying one last file from Catherine's hidden archives. Because a mother knows her children, and I know that my son will choose the right path, even if my daughter lost her way. Marcus, if you're reading this, remember, our true legacy isn't in buildings or business empires. It's in the lives we touch and the choices we make. I love you both, and I'm sorry I couldn't save everyone. The sun was rising over Chicago as hazmat teams finished securing the facility. Maya, Santiago, and Chen joined Marcus on the roof, watching as news helicopters circled the building that had nearly become ground zero for a nationwide catastrophe. What happens now? Maya asked. Marcus looked at the Elite Fitness logo, his mother's original design. Now we rebuild, not just the company, but everything it was meant to be. A place of real transformation, where people can become stronger without becoming test subjects. A legacy worth having. Your mother would be proud, Santiago said quietly. She already was, Marcus replied. She just made sure I'd be worthy of that pride. He turned to Chen. How many other facilities need to be checked? How deep does Project Genesis go? We're just getting started, Chen admitted. Winters had connections everywhere. This could take years to unravel. Marcus nodded, watching the sunrise paint the city gold. Then we better get to work. After all. He smiled slightly, remembering his mother's words from so long ago. True transformation takes time. 3 months after the Elite Fitness incident, Marcus stood in the renovated lobby of the original location. The The space had been transformed, stripped of its cold corporate aesthetic, and restored to something closer to Catherine Reynolds's original vision. Natural light streamed through new windows, and the walls displayed inspiring quotes about health and community rather than sales targets. The new health screening protocols are in place, Maya reported, now serving as head of member safety and wellness. Every trainer has been retrained on proper form and injury prevention. No more pushing people past their limits for sales numbers. The investigation into Project Genesis had revealed a web of corruption spanning decades. Elite fitness locations across the country had been thoroughly inspected, their hidden systems dismantled. Richard Sterling had turned state's evidence, providing authorities with detailed information about Winters's operation in exchange for a reduced sentence. "Latest numbers from the Foundation?" Marcus asked, referring to the Catherine Reynolds Wellness Initiative they'd established to help victims of the illegal trials. "Over 300 families have come forward," Santiago replied, checking his tablet. As the new director of community programs, he was overseeing the rehabilitation efforts. Medical expenses, counseling, whatever they need. "The lawyers think we'll find more cases as the investigation continues." Marcus nodded, watching members enter for their morning workouts. Each one was now greeted by a wellness coordinator, their programs designed around health and sustainable progress rather than aggressive transformation. The elite in elite fitness had been redefined to mean excellence in care, not exclusivity, in access. Detective Chen arrived for their weekly briefing, carrying a thick folder. "We found another one of Winters's research facilities," she announced without preamble. "Underground lab beneath a wellness retreat in Colorado. Same setup as here, legitimate business up top, experimental drug testing below." "How many does that make now?" 7 confirmed, 3 more suspected. Chen spread photos across the desk. But here's the interesting part. The Colorado facility had records going back to the 1980s. Winters wasn't just running his own operation, he was part of a larger network. Private military contractors, pharmaceutical companies, even foreign governments. Marcus studied the photos, recognizing equipment similar to what they'd found in their own basement lab. And Amanda... "Still not talking," Chen sighed, but her laptop gave up some interesting emails. "Looks like she was planning to take Project Genesis international. We found blueprints for facilities in Dubai, Singapore, London." A soft chime interrupted them. The newly installed memorial wall was about to begin its daily tribute. At noon each day, a slideshow displayed photos of Catherine Reynolds and others who had fought to expose the truth, including Mike Thompson. The memorial ended with Catherine's original mission statement for elite fitness. "True strength comes from lifting each other up, not from pushing others down." "Your mother's files are still helping us," Chen continued after the tribute finished. "The evidence she gathered, the connections she mapped, she wasn't just documenting Project Genesis, she was exposing an entire hidden industry built around unauthorized human experimentation." "And using my company as a front," Marcus added. Grimly, "Your old company," Maya corrected. "Elite fitness is something entirely different now." She was right. In the wake of the scandal, Marcus had completely restructured the organization. The board had been dissolved, replaced by a diverse council that included health professionals, community leaders, and former members. Profits were now reinvested into affordable programs and rehabilitation services. Santiago approached with another update. "The first group of scholarship recipients started today. 20 kids from underprivileged backgrounds, just like your mother used to sponsor. You should see them in the Youth Fitness Center. It's exactly what she would have wanted." Marcus smiled, remembering childhood days spent in that same space, watching his mother teach kids the joy of movement and healthy living. What about the medical records? Any progress on tracking down everyone who was exposed to the experimental compounds? Slow but steady, Maya replied. The FDA is helping us identify potential cases. Most of the effects seem reversible with proper treatment. The real challenge is reaching people who don't know they were part of the trials. They were interrupted by a commotion at the front desk. A woman was arguing with the receptionist, demanding to speak with management. Marcus recognized her, Janet Morrison, James Morrison's widow. "Mrs. Morrison," he greeted her, leading her to a private consultation room. "How can we help?" "I found these in James's home office." She placed a stack of notebooks on the table. He was keeping records, side effects, changes in his performance, unusual symptoms. I thought, maybe they could help others. The notebooks were a goldmine of information, detailed observations from someone unknowingly documenting the effects of Winters's drugs. This could help identify other victims and improve treatment protocols. "There's something else," Mrs. Morrison added hesitantly. "James mentioned a trainer who tried to warn him. Said the man seemed to know something was wrong with the supplements they were pushing. That trainer. He disappeared?" "Mike Thompson," Marcus confirmed. "He tried to expose what was happening, paid for it with his life. Then his family should be the first recipients of the Foundation's support," she decided. James would have wanted that. As they discussed the details, Marcus caught a glimpse of himself in the office window. He no longer saw the polished CEO or the undercover trainer, but something in between, someone trying to honor both his mother's vision and the lessons learned from exposing the darkness beneath the surface. The investigation was far from over. Project Genesis had tentacles reaching into places they hadn't yet discovered. But for the first time since going undercover in his own gym, Marcus felt like he was truly following in his mother's footsteps, not by building an empire, but by helping people find strength without sacrificing their humanity. Late one evening, 6 months after the elite fitness revelation, Marcus received an urgent call from Detective Chen. "We found something in the London facility. You need to see this." Within hours, he was video conferencing with an international task force. The London raid had uncovered more than just another testing facility. It had exposed a sophisticated data center containing records from every Project Genesis site worldwide. "Look at these dates," Chen directed, sharing her screen. The earliest files go back to the 1970s. Winters wasn't the mastermind. He was carrying on someone else's work. The files revealed a disturbing truth. Project Genesis had originated as a classified military program aimed at creating enhanced soldiers. When ethical concerns shut it down, the research hadn't stopped. It had gone private, hiding behind legitimate businesses like Elite Fitness. "There's more," a British investigator added. "We found references to something called the Director, someone above Winters who was coordinating the entire operation. The encrypted communications suggest this person is still active." Marcus studied the documents, something nagging at his memory. "These formulas," he pointed to a series of chemical compounds. "They're different from what we found in our facilities, more advanced." Maya, who had been analyzing the technical data, sat up straighter. Because they were developing two separate programs. The gym formulas were just a testing ground for the real objective. She pulled up a new set of files. They were working on something called Project Olympian, permanent genetic modification. The implications were staggering. Elite Fitness hadn't just been gathering data on drug reactions, it had been identifying genetic markers that made certain people more receptive to enhancement. The entire fitness empire had been a massive screening operation, identifying potential candidates for more extreme modifications. That's why they pushed so hard for genetic testing in our premium memberships, Marcus realized. The DNA analysis wasn't for personalized workout plans. They were looking for specific genetic profiles. Santiago, who had joined the call from Chicago, shared new security footage from their original facility. We found a hidden room behind the main lab. Look at the manufacturing dates on this equipment. Some of it's brand new. They were still actively expanding the operation even while we were investigating. And Amanda knew about all of it, Chen added. She just requested another deal, offering information about the director in exchange for witness protection. She's scared of something bigger than prison. Before they could discuss further, Maya's computer started beeping urgently. We've got movement on the financial front. Someone's accessing the old Project Genesis accounts, transferring funds through a series of shells. They're activating something. Marcus watched as numbers scrolled across the screen, a familiar pattern emerging. These transactions, they're identical to the ones Mom found before her accident. Same amounts, same routing patterns. Because history's repeating itself, a new voice joined the call. Amanda, speaking from federal custody, looked haggard but determined. The director knows we're getting close. They're initiating Protocol Zero, just like they did when your mother started asking questions. Protocol Zero? Chen demanded. Total erasure, Amanda replied, her voice shaking. They eliminate every trace of the project, including everyone who knows about it. That's why I needed protection. The director doesn't leave loose ends. As if confirming her words, alerts began flooding in from around the world. A fire at the London facility had destroyed the data center. A gas leak had forced evacuation of the Colorado site. Critical evidence was disappearing by the minute. It's not just the facilities, Santiago reported urgently. Our witness list, people are vanishing. 3 former elite fitness executives were just reported missing, and Mrs. Morrison. He paused, looking grim. Her car was found abandoned an hour ago. Marcus felt the weight of history threatening to repeat itself. Just like his mother, he'd pulled on a thread that led to something much darker. But this time, he had something Catherine didn't. A network of allies, and his mother's carefully laid groundwork. Maya, lock down all our data on secure servers. Use Mom's encryption protocols. Santiago, get our witnesses into protective custody immediately. Chen, we need to. He stopped, noticing a pattern in the technical schematics. From London, the facility's layout was familiar, too familiar. He pulled up his mother's original elite fitness blueprints, overlaying them with the London plans. These aren't just similar designs, he breathed. They're exact copies. Every hidden passage, every secret room, they're all in the same places. The only person who could have replicated Mom's designs so perfectly was someone who worked with her from the beginning, Amanda finished. Someone who helped design the original facility. Someone who knew every secret passage because they helped build them. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face as security footage from his mother's final days began playing on his screen. Footage he'd watched 100 times before. But now he noticed something new. In the background of Catherine's last visit to elite fitness, barely visible through a window reflection, was a figure he'd known his entire life. "Call everyone back," he ordered, his voice tight with shock. "I know who the director is, and I know why Mom really died." The image on his screen showed Catherine Reynolds talking with her oldest friend and business partner, Marcus's godmother, Dr. Elizabeth Wright, the renowned fitness researcher who had just been appointed to oversee the Catherine Reynolds Wellness Foundation. Elizabeth Wright wasn't just Mom's friend, Marcus explained to the assembled team in their secure conference room. She was my godmother, the person who comforted me after Mom's death, who supported my takeover of the company. She's been directing everything from the shadows this entire time. Detective Chen pulled up Dr. Wright's background on the main screen. A distinguished career in sports medicine and genetic research, multiple humanitarian awards, and a spotless reputation in the fitness industry. But now they could see the carefully constructed facade for what it was. Her research grants, Maya pointed to a series of transactions. They all trace back to shell companies we found in the London data. She wasn't just studying human enhancement, she was funding the entire Project Genesis network and using my mother's gym designs to build testing facilities worldwide. Marcus added bitterly. The hidden passages, the secret labs. Mom thought she was designing safety features to gather evidence. Instead, she was unknowingly creating the perfect architecture for illegal experiments. Santiago burst into the room, his face grave. We found Mrs. Morrison. She's alive, but heavily sedated in a private clinic registered to one of Wright's foundations. They were about to transfer her to a specialized facility, the same kind of facility where 3 other witnesses disappeared last month. The foundation, Chen realized. The Catherine Reynolds Wellness Foundation isn't just a charity, it's a way to identify and control potential whistleblowers. Help the victims just enough to keep them quiet, then make them disappear if they start asking questions. Marcus's phone buzzed, a message from Dr. Wright herself. We need to talk about your mother's true legacy. Come alone to the old training center, time to finish what Catherine couldn't. It's obviously a trap, Chen warned. But Marcus was already standing. Of course it is, but she doesn't know what we know. He pulled out his mother's old keycard, the one that had accessed the hidden evidence 12 years ago. Mom left us one last surprise. While Elizabeth was using her designs to build testing facilities, Catherine was building something else entirely. The old training center was where everything had started, the original gym where Catherine Reynolds and Elizabeth Wright had first partnered to create elite fitness. Now abandoned, it stood like a ghost of broken dreams and betrayed trust. Dr. Elizabeth Wright waited in what had once been the main workout area, looking exactly as Marcus remembered from his childhood. Elegant, composed, and utterly dangerous. I wondered when you'd figure it out. She smiled warmly, as if greeting her godson for Sunday dinner. You have your mother's intelligence, her inability to leave well enough alone too. Why? Marcus demanded. You were her best friend. She trusted you. I loved your mother, Elizabeth replied, surprising him with her sincerity. She was brilliant, visionary, but she couldn't see the bigger picture. Project Genesis isn't about profit or power, it's about evolution, advancing human potential beyond its natural limits. By turning innocent people into lab rats, killing anyone who gets in your way. Casualties of progress, she echoed Amanda's words. Catherine understood that in the beginning. We started this together, exploring the frontiers of human enhancement, but she got squeamish when she saw the cost of advancement, started designing ways to expose us instead of helping perfect the formulas. Security teams were quietly surrounding the building, following the plan Marcus had quickly devised, but he needed to keep Elizabeth talking, needed her to reveal everything. So you had her killed, he said flatly. Used Amanda to set it up, used Sterling to cover it up, used me to legitimize everything that came after. I protected you, Elizabeth corrected, guided you, shaped you into the leader elite fitness needed. Everything I did was for the greater good. Even Catherine's death served a purpose. It allowed us to accelerate the research without her moral obstacles. She moved to a sleek computer terminal that seemed out of place in the abandoned gym. And now it's time for the final phase. The London data showed us who's genetically compatible with Project Olympian. Thousands of perfect candidates, all conveniently documented through elite fitness memberships. The foundation clinics, Marcus realized, You're not helping victims, you're preparing to activate phase 2 in everyone who was exposed to the original formula. Elizabeth smiled proudly. Just like your mother, always putting the pieces together. Yes, the first phase was just preparation, identifying viable candidates, priming their systems. Now, with one command, we can trigger the secondary changes in everyone who survived the initial trials. Instant evolution, creating a new type of human. You're insane, Marcus breathed. I'm visionary, she corrected, and you can still be part of it. Your genetic profile is perfect, just like your mother's was. Join me, help me guide humanity's next step. Or, she gestured, to the armed guards emerging from the shadows, join Catherine in martyrdom. But Marcus smiled, surprising her. You know what your mistake was, thinking you were the only one who could use Mom's designs. He held up the keycard. You built testing facilities. She built kill switches. Before Elizabeth could react, Marcus swiped the card through the ancient-looking card reader on the wall. Immediately, hidden panels throughout the building slid open, revealing sophisticated monitoring equipment. Catherine's original evidence-gathering system, still quietly recording after all these years. What? Elizabeth started, but then she saw the live feeds appearing on her terminal. Every Project Genesis facility worldwide, every secret lab and hidden clinic, all simultaneously broadcasting their illegal activities on secure channels to law enforcement agencies across the globe. Mom knew someone would eventually try to use her work for the wrong purposes, Marcus explained, as federal agents swarmed the building. So she built a fail-safe into every facility designed with her blueprints, including this one. Every hidden camera, every secret recording device, everything you thought was for your experiments. It was all feeding into a secure database, gathering evidence. Elizabeth lunged for the terminal, trying to activate her Phase 2 protocol. But Maya's voice came through Marcus's earpiece. We're in. All systems locked down. The formulas, the test subjects, the genetic data, everything's secure. As Detective Chen personally led Elizabeth away in handcuffs, Marcus found himself standing in his mother's old office. On the wall hung a faded photo of Catherine Reynolds and Elizabeth Wright on opening day, both smiling with genuine hope for their shared vision of helping people become stronger, better versions of themselves. She never gave up on that dream, Santiago said quietly, joining him. Even when she discovered the truth about Elizabeth, she found a way to protect people and expose the darkness without becoming dark herself. Marcus nodded, thinking of all the lives that had been saved by his mother's foresight, and all the work still ahead to truly heal the damage done in the name of progress. The foundation stays, he decided, but this time it actually helps. People, no more secrets, no more experiments. Just what Mom always wanted, a place where transformation doesn't cost your humanity. As dawn broke over the old training center, Marcus could almost feel his mother's presence, her legacy finally fulfilled, not through the empire she built, but through the truth she died protecting. The real strength of elite fitness had never been in secret formulas or enhanced genetics. It had been in the heart of a woman who believed in helping others become better the right way, no matter the personal cost. 1 year after Elizabeth Wright's arrest, Marcus stood before the renovated, elite fitness flagship location, preparing to address the gathered media. The company's transformation had been as dramatic as the revelations that sparked it. The last victim of Project Genesis has been located and treated, Maya reported, reviewing the final numbers on her tablet. The neutralizing compound developed from your mother's research reversed the genetic alterations in 98% of cases. The remaining 2% are stable and receiving ongoing care through the foundation. The Catherine Reynolds Wellness Foundation had been completely restructured, now operating with full transparency under the oversight of an independent medical ethics board. Its primary mission was helping those affected by Project Genesis, but it had expanded to include the community health programs Catherine had originally envisioned. "Mrs. Morrison is here," Santiago said quietly, gesturing to where James Morrison's widow stood with a group of former test subjects. They had become vocal advocates for medical ethics reform, their testimony instrumental in passing new legislation protecting against unauthorized human experimentation. Detective Chen approached, looking satisfied. "Elizabeth's sentencing is confirmed. Life without parole, along with Sterling and most of the board members. Amanda—" She paused, glancing at Marcus. "Agreed to a plea deal, 20 years, in exchange for exposing the entire international network. The investigation had uncovered Project Genesis facilities in 12 countries, leading to the largest coordinated takedown of illegal medical research operations in history. Catherine's hidden monitoring systems had provided irrefutable evidence, exposing decades of corruption and experimentation. The new security protocols are in place," Santiago continued, showing Marcus the updated building schematics. "Your mother's monitoring system has been modified to ensure transparency. Every area of every facility is now publicly viewable through our member safety initiative. The transformation went beyond security measures. Elite Fitness had been rebuilt from the ground up, focusing on sustainable health and genuine wellness rather than rapid transformation. The aggressive sales tactics and dangerous training protocols had been replaced with evidence-based programs designed for long-term success." "Ready?" Maya asked, noting the time. Marcus nodded, approaching the podium. Camera flashes erupted as he faced the assembled press, but his attention was drawn to a new installation being unveiled behind him, a memorial wall dedicated to those who had fought to expose the truth, centered around a portrait of Catherine Reynolds. "1 year ago," he began, "I went undercover in my own company to understand why we were losing staff and endangering clients. What I discovered was more than corporate corruption. It was a betrayal of everything Elite Fitness was meant to be." He gestured to the renovated facility. "My mother founded this company with a simple vision, helping people become stronger, healthier versions of themselves through honest work and genuine support. That vision was twisted by those who saw human lives as experimental data, who valued progress over people." The crowd murmured as images appeared on screens behind him, before and after photos showing the company's transformation. Gone were the aggressive motivational slogans and exclusive membership tiers. In their place were community outreach programs, rehabilitation services, and affordable fitness options for all. Today, we're not just reopening Elite Fitness, we're returning to its original mission. Every facility now includes non-profit health services, community education programs, and transparent operations. Our new board includes medical ethics, experts, community leaders, and former members who helped expose the truth. He paused, looking at the gathered survivors of Project Genesis. "To those who suffered because of what Elite Fitness became, I offer more than apologies. I offer partnership. Your experiences have shaped our new direction. Your voices guide our policies, and your strength inspires our commitment to genuine transformation." The announcement of the company's new initiative drew applause. A whistleblower protection program named after Mike Thompson, ensuring that no one would ever again die for trying to expose the truth. After the presentation, Marcus found himself in his mother's old office, now a community meeting space where support groups gathered to help Project Genesis survivors. Santiago joined him, carrying a familiar object, Catherine's original business plan. "Found this in the archived files," he said, opening the worn document. "Look at the mission statement." Marcus read his mother's handwritten words. True fitness isn't about becoming something different, it's about becoming who you really are. Every person has strength within them. Our job isn't to force transformation, but to support each individual's journey to their best self. She never lost sight of that, Maya added, entering with Detective Chen. Even when building evidence-gathering systems into every facility, she was protecting people's right to choose their own path. Chen nodded toward the gym floor, where a youth fitness class was underway, part of the new community outreach program. The investigation's officially closed. Project Genesis is finished. Question is, what's next for Elite Fitness? Marcus watched the young participants, seeing echoes of his own childhood spent in these halls. We keep building what Mom started. Not an empire, but a community. Not a business, but a mission. He touched the memorial wall, his fingers tracing his mother's quote, "Strength isn't measured by how much we can lift, but by how many we can lift up." Outside, the sun set on the reborn Elite Fitness, its windows glowing with welcome rather than secrets. The building that had once hidden so much darkness now stood as a beacon of transformation, not through chemicals or coercion, but through the patient work of becoming better together. Marcus's journey had begun with an undercover mission to save his company. It had ended with something far more valuable: the resurrection of his mother's true legacy, a legacy built not on profit or power, but on the simple belief that everyone deserves the chance to become stronger the right way. The Elite Fitness logo still crowned the building, but now it meant something different. Not elite in exclusivity, but elite in ethics. Not fitness through force, but fitness through faith in human potential, just as Catherine Reynolds had intended all along. 2 weeks after the reopening ceremony, Marcus received an unexpected visit from Detective Chen. Her expression told him this wasn't a social call. "We found something in Elizabeth Wright's personal storage unit," she said, placing a weathered journal on his desk. "It predates Elite Fitness by almost a decade. You need to see this." The journal detailed Elizabeth's involvement with a classified military program called Project Artemis, the precursor to Project Genesis. But what caught Marcus's attention was a familiar name in the early entries: Thomas Reynolds, his father. "Dad was part of this?" Marcus asked, his world tilting again. "Not exactly," Chen replied. "According to these records, he was investigating it. Your father was a military intelligence officer working undercover to expose illegal experimentation. He met your mother while investigating Elizabeth Wright's early research. The revelation cast everything in a new light. His father's mysterious government job, his parents' whirlwind romance, and most importantly, his father's disappearance just months before Marcus was born." Elizabeth didn't just know my mother, Marcus realized. She knew exactly who my father was, who I really am. Maya burst into the office, her laptop clutched to her chest. "You need to see this. We've been analyzing the genetic data from Project Olympian, the candidates they were identifying, the specific markers they were looking for." She pulled up a complex genetic profile. They weren't creating enhanced humans. They were looking for people who were already different. The screens filled with medical data: unusual healing rates, enhanced strength, accelerated learning capabilities, natural genetic variations that appeared in less than 1% of the population. "Your father's real mission," Chen explained, "was tracking people. With these genetic markers, the government wasn't trying to create superhuman soldiers. They were trying to find ones that might already exist." Santiago joined them, carrying more files from the archived records. "That's why Elite Fitness was so perfect as a cover. We're better to find people with unusual physical capabilities than a gym. Every fitness assessment, every performance metric, every DNA test offered through premium memberships was really screening for these genetic markers." Marcus finished, He looked at his own genetic profile on the screen, seeing it with new understanding. And Mom? Did she know? She must have figured it out, Chen said softly. Look at the date she started designing those hidden security features. It matches exactly with when she would have discovered she was pregnant with you. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. His mother hadn't just been protecting evidence of corporate crime. She'd been protecting him. Every hidden passage, every secret monitoring system was designed to keep him safe from those who might discover what he really was. A message popped up on Marcus's secure phone. Amanda, using her limited communication privileges from prison. Check subsection 47 of Mum's original blueprints. There's a room you haven't found yet. Marcus pulled up the building plans, focusing on a section that had always seemed oddly spaced. Behind the main electrical room, accessible only through a series of maintenance tunnels, was a chamber that didn't appear on any official plans. I'll assemble a team, Chen started, but Marcus shook his head. No, whatever's in there, Mom meant it for me to find alone. The journey through the maintenance tunnels felt like traveling back in time. Motion sensors activated soft lighting. As he walked, revealing more of his mother's meticulous planning, the hidden chamber's door looked like an ordinary maintenance panel, but the keypad beside it was far more sophisticated. Marcus tried his birthday. Nothing. His father's military. ID number. Still nothing. Finally, he entered the date his father disappeared, and the door slid silently open. The room beyond was small, but packed with technology that looked decades ahead of its time. Screens lit up automatically, displaying a message he'd never seen before. My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, you've discovered the truth about your father's work, about Elizabeth's real agenda, and about yourself. The genetic markers they're looking for, they run in your father's family. He didn't disappear. He went into hiding to protect us both. Project Genesis wasn't just about creating enhanced humans. It was about finding people like you, studying them, and eventually controlling them. Elizabeth discovered what you were when you were born, but I managed to alter your test results before she could be sure. Everything I built into elite fitness, every hidden room, every secret passage, was designed to protect you while gathering evidence of their true agenda. Your father left something for you here. When he visited in secret just before he had to disappear, the choice he had to make then is now yours. Stay and fight from within the system, or use what he left to disappear and live free of their attention. Whatever you choose, know that you were loved, protected, and never alone. All my love, Mom. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing a safe. Inside was everything needed for a new identity, prepared by his father years ago, along with coordinates, to a location where he might find answers about his family's true history. But there was something else, a USB drive labeled Project Artemis, full records. Information that could expose decades of secret government programs, unauthorized, experiments, and the truth about people like him. Maya's voice came through his earpiece. Marcus, we just found something in Elizabeth's data. There are others out there, dozens of them, people with the markers, hiding in plain sight. Some of them were elite fitness members. Marcus looked at the escape package his father had left, then at the USB drive that could change everything. His mother had given him a choice, just as she'd always tried to protect his right to choose his own path. Maya, he said finally, get everyone in the secure conference room. It's time to decide what kind of legacy we're really going to build. As he emerged from the hidden chamber, Marcus felt the weight of both his parents' sacrifices and the responsibility that came with finally understanding who and what he really was. Elite fitness had been built to hide the truth about people, like him, Perhaps now it could become something else, a sanctuary for those who were different and a platform for exposing the truth about what had been done to find them. The real question was, how many others were out there, waiting to discover their own truth, and what would happen when they finally did? The secure conference room hummed with tension as Marcus shared his discovery. Maya, Santiago, and Detective. Chen sat in stunned silence as the implications of Project Artemis sank in. So the military wasn't trying to create enhanced humans, Maya summarized. They were tracking naturally occurring genetic variations, and elite fitness was designed to identify them, Marcus finished. Every fitness challenge, every performance metric, every health screening, it was all structured to spot people with unusual capabilities. He pulled up the data from his mother's hidden room. Look at these membership patterns from the past 20 years. The screens filled with analytics showing how certain members would suddenly cancel their memberships after achieving unusual results, disappearing completely. Others would deliberately underperform, keeping their results just within normal ranges. They were hiding, Santiago realized. They knew what they were and didn't want to be found. Chen studied the military files from Project Artemis. Your father's notes mention something called the network, an underground system helping these people stay off the radar. That's probably where he disappeared to. The coordinates his father left led to a small town in Colorado, near one of the first elite fitness locations. But satellite imagery showed the town had been abandoned years ago, or at least it appeared to be. I need to go there, Marcus decided. But first we need to protect the others still in the system. Maya was already working on it, her fingers flying over her keyboard. I can alter the assessment algorithms, build in randomization factors that will mask any unusual results, make it look like normal performance variations. That's not enough, Santiago argued. As long as these facilities exist, they'll be used to track people, maybe not by us, but by someone. Marcus stood, his decision made. Then we change what the facilities are for, not tracking and testing, but protecting and training. He touched the genetic profile on his screen. Mum didn't just hide me. She gave me a way to help others like me. A notification popped up on Chen's phone. We've got movement on Elizabeth Wright's accounts. Someone's accessing encrypted files we didn't know existed. The screens lit up with new data, profiles of elite fitness members who had displayed extraordinary abilities. But these weren't just performance metrics. They were detailed studies, genetic sequences, and most disturbing of all, family trees tracking these genetic markers through generations. She wasn't just looking for enhanced individuals, Maya breathed. She was mapping bloodlines, trying to predict where these traits might appear next. Santiago pulled up membership records from the youth programs, the children's fitness assessments. They were screening kids as young as 6 years old. Marcus felt sick. His own company had been used to identify and potentially target children with special abilities. But as he studied the data, he noticed something else, patterns in how these families protected themselves. Look at these enrollment clusters, he pointed. When someone with abilities was identified, others would join the same facility. They weren't just hiding individually, they were watching out for each other. The network, Chen nodded, using elite fitness to find their own people before Elizabeth could. A message appeared on Marcus's secure line, an anonymous text with a single line, "Your father's waiting, time to choose." But before they could discuss it, Maya's security systems flashed a warning. Multiple breaches detected at international facilities. Someone's trying to access the old testing protocols. Elizabeth's contingency plan, Marcus realized. She didn't just keep records. She left sleeper protocols in the system. If she was ever caught, all the data would be exposed, Chen finished grimly. Every person with enhanced abilities would be revealed. Marcus's mind raced. His mother had built failsafes into every facility, but those were designed to expose criminal activity, not protect genetic data. They needed something else, something that would protect people's privacy while maintaining the evidence of Project Genesis's crimes. Maya, can you isolate the genetic data from the other records? She nodded, already working. I can partition it, but we'd need a way to secure it permanently. Use my mother's encryption protocols, Marcus decided. Then wipe it completely. Better to destroy the data than let it be used to hunt people. What about the evidence for the investigations? Chen asked. We've got enough physical evidence to convict everyone involved in Project Genesis, Marcus replied. This is about protecting the innocent people caught in their web. As Maya began the data purge, Marcus received another anonymous message, a video file. It showed a security feed from what looked like an ordinary small-town gym, but as he watched, one of the trainers casually lifted a fallen weight rack that should have taken 3 people to move. The message below read, "There are more of us than they know. Your father built a sanctuary. Time to build your own." Marcus looked around at his team, the people who had helped him expose Project Genesis and protect his mother's legacy. They had uncovered a truth bigger than corporate corruption, bigger than illegal experiments. They had found a hidden world of extraordinary people who needed protection. Elite Fitness stays open, he announced, but with a new mission. We're not just going to help people get stronger, we're going to help them be who they really are, safely and secretly. Santiago smiled. Your mother would be proud. She already knew, Marcus replied, touching the locket he always wore, the one containing the first genetic test that had revealed his true nature. She built all this knowing someday we'd need it. Now it's time to use it the way she intended. As they began planning Elite Fitness's newest transformation, Marcus couldn't help but wonder how many others were out there, hiding their true strength, waiting for a safe place to be themselves. His journey had started with going undercover, in his own gym. Now it was about helping others maintain their own necessary covers, not to hide in shame, but to live in safety until the world was ready for the truth about human potential. The abandoned town of Pine Ridge, Colorado, appeared deserted at first glance, its main street lined with boarded-up storefronts and faded signs. But Marcus noticed subtle details. Well-maintained power lines, fresh tire tracks in the dust, security cameras disguised as deteriorating fixtures. We've got movement, Chen reported from their surveillance position. Multiple heat signatures in the old community center. Marcus checked the coordinates one final time. The former Pine Ridge Fitness Center stood at the heart of the town, its weathered exterior masking what his enhanced vision could detect. State-of-the-art security systems and reinforced walls. This is where it all started, Santiago said, reviewing historical documents. The first Elite Fitness was modeled after this facility. Your father used it as a template for identifying enhanced individuals. But something bothered Marcus about the building's layout. These dimensions are wrong. The external structure is too small for the equipment listed in the original inventory. Maya's drone scans confirmed his suspicion. There's a substructure extending at least 3 levels below ground, much bigger than the visible building. Before they could investigate further, a familiar voice called out from the shadows. "Hello, son?" Thomas Reynolds stepped into view, looking remarkably unchanged from the photos Marcus had seen of him 20 years ago. The same athletic build, the same watchful eyes Marcus saw every morning in the mirror. "You've been busy," Thomas said, gesturing toward a news headline about Elite Fitness's transformation. "Your mother would be proud." "You could have contacted me before now," Marcus replied, emotions warring in his voice. "All those years. I had to be sure Elizabeth's people weren't still watching you. Catherine's protocols kept you safe. kept your abilities hidden, but now that Project Genesis is exposed. He turned toward the community center. It's time you saw what we've really been building. The facility's interior revealed a truth that dwarfed everything they'd discovered so far. What appeared to be a simple gym was actually the hub of a vast underground network. Training areas designed for superhuman abilities, research labs studying, genetic potential, and most importantly, families. Dozens of people with extraordinary capabilities living and working together in secret. The network isn't just about hiding, Thomas explained as they toured the facility. It's about understanding who we are, helping our children control their abilities, and preparing for the day when the world discovers our existence. Maya's tablets lit up with alerts. The data purge triggered something. Automated protocols are activating at elite fitness locations worldwide. Security feeds showed similar facilities emerging from hiding, abandoned buildings, closed gyms, seemingly defunct community centers, all revealing themselves to be sanctuary points for the enhanced individuals. Elizabeth's exposure protocol wasn't just about revealing us, Thomas said grimly. It was designed to trigger a coordinated hunt. Military units are already mobilizing, using her data to target suspected sanctuaries. Then we use elite fitness to protect them, Marcus decided. Every facility becomes a waypoint, a safe house. We've got the infrastructure, the security systems, and a CEO whose own abilities make him the perfect guardian, a new voice added. Amanda stood in the doorway, flanked by federal agents. Sorry about the dramatic entrance, little brother. Witness protection isn't just about hiding. It's about choosing the right time to emerge. Chen's hand moved to her weapon, but Thomas raised a calming hand. She's with us. Has been since she discovered her own abilities manifesting in prison. Elizabeth's experiments had an unexpected side effect. They accelerated latent genetic potential in some of the test subjects. The real reason for Protocol Zero, Amanda explained. Elizabeth wasn't just trying to eliminate witnesses. She was trying to eliminate evidence that her experiments were activating abilities in normal people, creating more of what she was trying to control. Screens throughout the facility lit up with incoming data. Elite fitness locations across the globe were reporting unusual activity, people with abilities emerging from hiding, seeking sanctuary as Elizabeth's protocols exposed their existence. We need to move fast, Thomas urged. Elizabeth's failsafe wasn't just about exposure. She planted sleeper agents in key positions, people conditioned to activate when the protocols triggered. As if confirming his words, security feeds showed coordinated attacks beginning at elite fitness facilities worldwide. But these weren't military units. They were trusted employees, members, even local law enforcement, all moving with mechanical precision. The supplements, Maya realized, analyzing new data. Some of them contain compounds designed to make people susceptible to programmed triggers. They're not just hunting enhanced individuals, they're activating an army of controlled subjects. Marcus watched as the crisis unfolded on multiple screens. Everything, his mother's precautions, his father's sanctuary network, Elizabeth's contingencies, and his own journey of discovery, was converging into a single moment of truth. We've got hours at most before they reach the first sanctuaries, Chen reported. What's the play? Marcus looked at his father, seeing decades of preparation in his eyes. At Amanda, understanding her betrayal had been part of a deeper game of survival. At his team, who had helped him uncover a truth bigger than any of them had imagined. We use what Mom built, he decided. Not just the security systems and hidden passages, the dream of what elite fitness was meant to be, a place where people become their true selves, safely and openly. Thomas smiled, recognizing Catherine's influence in his son's words. Then let's show them what we can really do when we stop hiding. As alerts continued pouring in from around the world, Marcus Reynolds prepared to step fully into his heritage, not just as the CEO of Elite Fitness, but as a bridge between two worlds. The question wasn't whether humanity was ready for the truth about enhanced individuals. The question was whether they were ready to help humanity accept that truth without losing themselves in the process. We've got 12 minutes before the first wave hits Chicago, Maya reported, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. The command center beneath Pine Ridge hummed with activity as they coordinated their response to Elizabeth's activated sleeper agents. "Show me the pattern," Marcus demanded, studying the attack trajectories. Something about the coordinated movements tickled his memory. "These aren't random strikes. They're following Mom's original gym placement strategy." Thomas nodded grimly. Catherine didn't just design the facilities. She chose their locations based on population density of enhanced individuals. Elizabeth used that same data to position her sleeper agents. The screens showed dozens of red dots converging on elite fitness locations worldwide. But Marcus noticed something else. Blue dots moving in counter patterns, emerging from hiding to protect the sanctuaries. "The network is mobilizing," Amanda explained. "Every enhanced individual who can fight is moving to defend the sanctuaries, but we're outnumbered at least 5-1. "Numbers aren't everything," Santiago interjected, pulling up new data. "The sleeper agents are strong, fast, and coordinated, but they're running on programmed responses. They can't adapt like we can." Marcus studied the Chicago facility's layout, his mother's original design, modified over years to include both defensive measures and escape routes. "We don't need to beat them. We just need to protect the people inside long enough to break." Elizabeth's control protocol. Maya's analysis of the supplement formulas had revealed a crucial weakness. The compounds making people susceptible to control would break down under specific conditions. They just needed to trigger those conditions simultaneously across all affected subjects. The ventilation systems, Marcus realized. Mom didn't just build them for gathering evidence. She designed them to distribute neutralizing agents. We can use them to deliver the counter-agent worldwide. "One problem," Chen interrupted, pointing to a new alert. "Elizabeth's programming included a fail-safe. If we try to break her control, the sleeper agents are coded to eliminate themselves and everyone around them." The stakes had just risen, exponentially. They weren't just fighting to protect enhanced individuals, they were trying to save the sleeper agents themselves, unwitting pawns in Elizabeth's final game. "How long to synthesize enough counteragent?" Marcus asked the network's lead scientist. 4 hours minimum," came the reply. "We don't have enough raw materials to produce the quantity needed." Marcus looked at his father, a silent understanding passing between them. "We do have enough in us." He rolled up his sleeve. "Our blood contains natural compounds that can break the control programming. That's why Elizabeth's formulas never worked on people like us." "The extraction process could kill you," Thomas warned. "Even with our enhanced healing." "Better than letting thousands die," Marcus cut him off. "How many enhanced donors do we have?" Amanda stepped forward. "I'm in. Prison gave me time to understand what these abilities mean. Responsibility, not power." Throughout the facility, others emerged. Men, women, even teenagers with extraordinary capabilities, offering to risk their lives to save both enhanced and normal humans caught in Elizabeth's web. Maya's screens flashed with new warnings. "First wave hitting Chicago. London under attack. Sydney facility breached." Marcus made the call. "Start the extraction. Maya, upload the distribution protocols to all elite fitness locations. Santiago, coordinate with the network to position defenders. Chen, get federal response teams ready to contain the situation once we break the programming. Amanda, I'll help coordinate the donors," she finished. Time to finally do something right with these abilities. As medical teams began the dangerous extraction process, Marcus watched the global feeds. Elite fitness facilities were transforming into battlegrounds as sleeper agents attacked with inhuman coordination while enhanced individuals emerged from hiding to protect the sanctuaries. In Chicago, a trainer lifted a car to create an escape route for fleeing members. In London, a teenage girl with supernatural speed evacuated an entire facility seconds before attackers breached it. In Sydney, an elderly man stood alone against dozens of sleeper agents, his mastery of kinetic energy keeping them at bay. The hidden world was revealing itself, not in fear or aggression, but in defense of humanity. Every act of protection, every moment of sacrifice showed what enhanced individuals could truly be, guardians rather than weapons. Through the pain of extraction, Marcus saw his mother's true vision taking shape. Elite fitness wasn't just about physical transformation or hiding enhanced individuals. It was about proving that extraordinary abilities didn't have to make someone less human, they could make them more humane. The counter-agent synthesis began, using the donated blood of those who had chosen to risk everything to save others. Now they just had to hold out long enough for it to work, while preventing Elizabeth's failsafe from claiming more innocent lives. As the battle for survival escalated worldwide, Marcus realized this wasn't just about enhanced versus normal humans. It was about the most fundamental choice any person could make, to use their strength, whatever its source, to help rather than harm. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of elite fitness or the enhanced community, but the very nature of human potential. And it all started with a CEO going undercover in his own gym, uncovering not just corporate corruption, but the next chapter in human evolution. The extraction process left Marcus weak, but determined as he monitored the global crisis from Pine Ridge's command center. 2 hours into the synthesis, and already the casualties were mounting on both sides. "London Sanctuary is holding," Maya reported, her voice strained. "But Sydney's down. Enhanced evacuated everyone through the underground tunnels before the sleeper agents could trigger their failsafe." The screens told a story of desperate resistance worldwide. Each elite fitness location had become a battleground between Elizabeth's programmed army and the enhanced individuals fighting to protect both their own kind and the innocent humans caught in the crossfire. "Counter-agent synthesis at 60%, the medical team reported. "But we're losing donors. The extraction process is too demanding." Marcus watched as another enhanced volunteer was rushed to emergency care, their body pushed beyond even their extraordinary healing capabilities. They needed a solution before they ran out of donors or time. "Wait," he said suddenly, studying the chemical formulas. "We're approaching this wrong. Mom's original research. It wasn't about neutralizing the compounds." He pulled up Catherine's earliest notes on enhanced genetics. "Look at the protein markers. The counter-agent doesn't need to destroy the control compounds. It needs to activate the body's natural resistance to them." Thomas joined him at the screens, his medical expertise combining with his enhanced intellect. "The sleeper agents have the same genetic potential we do. Elizabeth's compounds just suppressed it while making them susceptible to control. So we don't need to synthesize a complete counter-agent," Maya realized. "We just need enough to trigger their own natural defenses." The revelation cut there, required production time in half, but they still faced the challenge of distribution. Elite Fitness's ventilation systems could deliver the counter-agent, but they needed a way to protect the enhanced and civilian population during the process. Amanda, recovering from her own donation, pointed to the building schematics. "The sanctuary zones. Mom didn't just design them for hiding. They're hermetically sealed environments. We can protect everyone inside while the counter-agent disperses." A new alert flashed across the screens. The Chicago facility was under heavy assault, its defenders struggling to hold back waves of sleeper agents. Security feeds showed Santiago coordinating the defense, using his enhanced strength to reinforce barricades while buying time for evacuations. "They're targeting the environmental controls," he reported through static-filled communications. "If they disable the ventilation system before we can deploy the counter-agent." "They won't," Marcus decided, pushing himself to his feet, despite the weakness from blood donation. "I'm going to Chicago." "You're in no condition," Thomas protested, but Marcus cut him off. "I started this by going undercover in my own gym. I'll finish it by defending it." He turned to the command team. "How long until the counter-agent is ready for deployment?" 30 minutes to synthesis completion, another 15 for worldwide distribution prep. Marcus nodded toward the medical team. "Give me a stimulant pack, something to keep me on my feet for an hour." "It could kill you in your weakened state," the doctor warned. "Better me than everyone in that facility." Marcus checked the Chicago feeds again. The sleeper agents had breached the outer defenses. Soon they would reach the environmental controls, and with them, the only chance to save everyone affected by Elizabeth's programming. Thomas stepped forward. "I'm going with you." "No," Marcus countered. "I need you here coordinating the worldwide response. This isn't just about one facility anymore." Amanda moved to his side. "Then I'm going. Time to prove I really have changed." The siblings shared a look of understanding. Both had been shaped by their enhanced heritage. Both had made mistakes, and both now had a chance to truly honor their mother's legacy. Maya's voice cut through their moment. "Chicago defenses failing. Environmental control room breached." Marcus grabbed the stimulant pack, ignoring the doctor's protests as he injected it. Strength flooded his system, temporarily overwhelming the weakness from blood donation. "Get the counter-agent ready," he ordered. "When we give the signal, deploy it to every facility simultaneously. No matter what happens in Chicago, we only get one shot at this." As they prepared for emergency transport to Chicago, Marcus caught his reflection in a darkened screen. He saw what his mother must have seen years ago, the potential for extraordinary abilities to serve rather than dominate, to protect rather than control. The stimulant surged through his system as they boarded the transport. In 45 minutes, they would either save thousands of lives or witness Elizabeth's final victory. The real test wasn't about enhanced versus normal humans. It was about the choice each person made with whatever power they possessed. "Ready?" Amanda asked, her own enhanced abilities humming with restrained energy. Marcus nodded, thinking of how this had all started with a simple undercover mission. Let's show them what elite fitness was really meant to be. The transport lifted, off toward Chicago, carrying with it humanity's best hope for ending Elizabeth's deadly legacy once and for all. The Chicago facility loomed before them, its windows flashing with the chaos of battle inside. Marcus and Amanda touched down on the roof, their enhanced senses immediately registering the situation below. "Environmental controls are 3 levels down," Marcus said, fighting through the stimulant-induced haze. "Santiago's team is holding them off, but they're running out of time." The siblings moved through the building's maintenance passages, the same hidden routes their mother had designed years ago. Through the walls, they could hear the clash of enhanced individuals fighting to protect the sanctuary zones, where civilians huddled in safety. 10 minutes until counter-agent deployment," Maya's voice crackled through their earpieces. "You need to secure the ventilation system." They emerged into a scene of controlled chaos. Santiago had transformed the gym floor into a defensive position, using exercise equipment as barricades. Enhanced individuals fought alongside loyal staff members, protecting the environmental control room's access point. "The sleeper agents," Amanda gasped, seeing them up close for the first time. "They're not just controlled, they're transforming." Elizabeth's programming was pushing the agents' bodies beyond normal limits, burning through their suppressed, enhanced genes. Their movements were unnaturally fast, their strength devastating, but their faces showed the agony of bodies being forced to evolve too quickly. "Marcus," Santiago called out, holding a reinforced door against repeated impacts. "They've breached the lower level, 2 minutes until they reach the main controls." Using their combined abilities, Marcus and Amanda fought their way toward the environmental control room. Each engagement with a sleeper agent revealed the horrible truth of Elizabeth's failsafe. Their bodies were literally burning out, enhanced genetics consuming them from within. "We can't hold them much longer," Amanda warned, her own enhanced strength flagging against the endless waves of attackers. Marcus's stimulant-enhanced mind raced, analyzing the situation. The sleeper agents were targeting the ventilation controls with single-minded focus, but something about their pattern seemed familiar. Mom's original blueprints, he realized suddenly. The environmental room isn't just about ventilation. It's connected to the building's water system. He activated his comm. "Maya, the water supply. Mom designed it as a backup distribution system. Can we use it?" "Checking. Yes, the counter-agent is water-soluble, but the concentration would have to be higher," Marcus finished. "Much higher, and delivered instantly." Amanda understood immediately. "The pool. We can release it through the emergency flush system. It'll hit every pipe in the building at once." "The concentration would be lethal to normal humans," Maya warned. "That's why we have the sanctuary." "Zones," Marcus replied. "They're the only areas not connected to the main water system. Everyone inside will be protected." They fought their way to the pool control room, each step becoming harder as Marcus's stimulant-enhanced body began to fail. The counter-agent had taken its toll, and now the drugs were burning through his system too quickly. 4 minutes to worldwide deployment, Maya reported. But without the Chicago facility's ventilation system. "We'll make it," Marcus promised, even as his vision blurred. They reached the pool controls, but a final wave of sleeper agents burst through the doors. Amanda engaged them, her own enhanced abilities pushing beyond their limits. "Do it. I'll hold them." Marcus's fingers flew over the controls, rerouting the concentrated counteragent through the pool's emergency systems. The entire building's plumbing would become a delivery system, spraying the agent through every pipe, every sprinkler, every water fountain. Worldwide deployment in 3, 2. The sleeper agents suddenly convulsed, Elizabeth's programming driving them toward one final devastating attack. They charged forward, their bodies literally burning with forced evolution. "Now!" Marcus slammed the emergency release. Water systems throughout the building burst to life, spraying the concentrated counter-agent in a building-wide deluge. At the same moment, Maya activated the worldwide deployment through elite fitness ventilation systems across the globe. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The sleeper agents collapsed, their bodies finally free to reject Elizabeth's programming. Their suppressed, enhanced genetics began stabilizing, no longer forced into destructive overdrive. Marcus stumbled, the stimulants finally giving out, but Amanda caught him. Through their fading consciousness, they watched as normalcy returned to the agents' faces, the blankness replaced by confusion, then understanding, then relief. "Counter-agent successfully deployed worldwide," Maya reported triumphantly, all facilities reporting similar results. The sleeper agents, they're waking up. The siblings leaned against each other, their enhanced bodies pushed to their absolute limits, but their minds clear with the knowledge of what they'd accomplished. Elite fitness had transformed one final time, from a place of hidden power to a symbol of unity between enhanced and normal humans. As medical teams rushed in to treat both the freed sleeper agents and the exhausted defenders, Marcus saw his mother's true vision finally realized. The facilities she'd designed hadn't just protected enhanced individuals, They'd created a space where everyone, regardless of their genetics, could work together towards something greater than themselves. The world would soon know about enhanced humans, but they would learn about them not through Elizabeth's attempt to control them, but through their choice to protect humanity at their own risk. Elite fitness would stand as testament to that choice, a place where true strength meant using whatever power you had to lift others up. Thomas's voice came through their comms, filled with pride. "Your mother would be proud of both of you." Marcus looked at Amanda, then at the freed sleeper agents being helped by their former opponents, and finally at the sanctuary zones where enhanced and normal humans emerged together. "She already is," he replied, "because this is exactly what she built Elite Fitness for. Not to hide what makes us different, but to show what makes us human." 6 months after the worldwide confrontation, Marcus stood in the renovated lobby of Elite Fitness's flagship location. The space had been transformed yet again, but this time into something truly revolutionary. The world's first openly integrated facility for both enhanced and normal humans. "Latest registration numbers," Maya reported, now serving as Director of Integration Programs. "We're at capacity, with a waiting list 3 months long. Turns out people are eager to train alongside enhanced individuals once they understand the truth." The truth had emerged gradually over the past months. After the incident, it became impossible to hide the existence of enhanced humans. Instead of panic, the world had responded with cautious curiosity, especially when they learned how many enhanced individuals had risked their lives to protect others during Elizabeth's final gambit. "The new Enhanced Protection Act passes next week," Detective Chen added, reviewing updates on her tablet. "Full rights and protections for enhanced individuals, along with guidelines for using abilities in public service. Your testimony made the difference." Marcus nodded, watching through the gym's windows as a young enhanced trainer helped a group of normal humans perfect their form. In another area, normal trainers taught enhanced individuals how to control their strength without relying solely on their abilities. "Medical research update," Santiago approached, holding fresh reports. "The former sleeper agents have all stabilized. Their enhanced genetics are fully active now. But without Elizabeth's programming, they're integrating well into the program." The rehabilitation of Elizabeth's victims had become a primary focus. Elite fitness facilities worldwide now served as treatment centers, helping newly awakened enhanced individuals understand and control their abilities. Amanda, fully recovered and serving as head of security, joined them. Dad's network is finally coming out of hiding. Former sanctuaries are being converted into training centers. The days of enhanced humans living in secret are over. Thomas Reynolds himself had emerged as a key figure in the transition, using his decades of experience to help bridge the gap between enhanced and normal communities. His relationship with Marcus had grown stronger through their shared mission of protecting both worlds. "And Elizabeth?" Marcus asked quietly. "Still not talking," Chen replied. "But her research is helping us understand how to better support enhanced genetics without forcing evolution. Some good finally coming from her work." The original hidden chamber beneath the facility had been transformed into a museum, documenting both the dark history they'd overcome and the bright future they were building. Catherine Reynolds' portrait held the central position, her vision finally realized in ways she might never have imagined. "Mom's original mission statement," Marcus mused, reading the words displayed prominently on the wall. "True strength comes from lifting each other up, not from pushing others down." She wasn't just talking about weights. A commotion at the entrance drew their attention. A group of enhanced teenagers, recently discovered in foster care, arrived for their first training session. They looked nervous until they saw Marcus, living proof that being different didn't mean being alone. "Remember when you went undercover to figure out what was wrong with your gym?" Maya smiled. "Did you ever imagine it would lead to this?" Marcus watched as normal and enhanced humans worked out together, spotted each other on weights, shared protein shakes, and simply coexisted as equals. Elite fitness had become more than a gym chain or a sanctuary. It was a model for the UC future. "The real transformation," he replied, "wasn't about physical strength or hidden abilities. It was about becoming who we're meant to be, all of us, together." The facility hummed with energy, not from secret experiments or suppressed powers, but from the simple joy of people helping each other grow stronger. Enhanced trainers used their abilities to demonstrate perfect form, while normal instructors taught enhanced clients the importance of technique over raw power. As sunset painted the gym in golden light, Marcus touched the locket containing his mother's first note about his abilities. Elite fitness had evolved from a place of secrets and hidden strength into something far more powerful, a testament to human potential in all its wonderful variations. "Ready for your class?" Amanda asked, nodding toward a group of mixed, enhanced, and normal clients waiting for their session. Marcus smiled, thinking of how far they'd come from those dark days of corporate conspiracy and hidden truths. Time to show them what real strength looks like. As he headed toward his class, Marcus realized that his journey, from undercover boss to enhanced protector, had always been leading to this moment. Elite fitness had finally become what his mother had dreamed, a place where everyone could become their best selves, not by hiding their differences, but by celebrating them together. The sign above the entrance had been updated one final time. "Elite fitness, where every strength counts." Below it in smaller letters was Catherine Reynolds' last message to her son, now shared with the world. "True power isn't in what makes us different, but in how we use those differences to lift each other up." The era of secrets was over. The real transformation had begun.